Western Ohio. My name is Bev. This is the Bev D Show. And I've got a lot to talk about today. I'm very excited about life amongst all this craziness that's going on out there. I'm pretty glad to be on this side of the grass. Today, I was inspired. I've been doing some rearranging and looking at some of the things that I've done in the past, and it's like a body of work, if you will, a resume, but it's physical, tangible items. It is things that I've written and that were never published, but I kept them. And I have had in the past where people have said to me, Bev, I've said this before in other shows, when I do share something that I've written, they say, you're an amazing writer. I'm not bragging. Please don't misunderstand why I'm telling you this. But people have told me that this is something I'm very good at. They've used the words gifted. They've used the word talented. They've used the word blessed to be able to put things down on paper and write. And so I was going through some of those things today, and I thought, I'm a publisher. I have self-published a few books, and I am very proud of that. And I am going to continue to do that. This show is a way that I will be using to promote those books and talk about them, but there are some things that I would just write, and they would come together, and they would have a beginning, a middle, an end, and a lot of it is a reflection of things that I was paying attention to in my life, and that happened to me. And so I put them down on paper, and the next thing you know, I was like, I enjoyed reading that. Wonder if other people would. So I started just reading through those, and I thought, maybe I also start reading them. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing today, is something that happened to me when I had my girls were very small. I was a new mom trying to figure it all out. And I was reading it, and there are often times, you guys, that I'm reading these things, and I honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I don't know where the words come from. And they just, with the typed out version that I have with some edits, I always keep my handwritten copy as well, usually written with a pencil. And what's amazing to me is, there's some grammatical errors and things like that, but I really don't change them too much. And from the original, and the pencil written. So I was looking at this one that I wrote, and it's like, I do look at the ability that I have to communicate through the written word as a gift from God. It's something that I enjoy doing. I have always enjoyed doing, and it gives me a real fun, racy feeling. Same thing when I do a show. It gives me a real fun, racy feeling inside that lets me know I'm alive. And whenever I have, done speeches or public speaking in the past, or spoke before women's groups, I've always encouraged people, find what you love, and whether you do it part-time or as a hobby, and you have a different job that doesn't entail that, you should always be doing something with your gift. And the reason why is it is the thing that gives you that little blood rushing through, and gives you that um, really good positive feeling inside. We can be sucked into the vortex of anything negative so easily. It's often easier to say negative things than it is to try and find. It's almost hard work right now to find the positive, but in the meantime, I'm really glad I kept all of these, what I'll call writings, or, you know, things I wished would be published but are just written, So I want to get the word out there. But at the end of these, whenever I would do these speeches, at the end, people would say to me, or I would open it up to the floor, and they would ask me, how do you know what your gift is? There's some people that really just, they haven't had a hobby like I have since I was 5, and I've written these stories or poems, or was really able to communicate effectively through writing. How do you know? And I always like to respond to that. If when you're done doing that activity, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's, maybe you're an excellent seamstress. When you are done with that project, if you've got something really solid and positive within your soul, it makes you feel so good that when you're done with it, that's your gift. And I've also had people say, well, I've always wanted to be a painter, and I love painting, but I really haven't taken it seriously, and I would love to, paint landscapes and things like that. But they say, where do you begin? And I say, buy a paintbrush, a bottle of paint, and a canvas, and then just do that. It's thinking about it that we constantly do, and we don't actually act on it. Now, I say that to you not in a, authoritative way, or, this is what you should do. This is what has happened to me. So many times I think about what I'm going to do, but I don't actually move forward with it. And I think about it, and I write about it, and I make little lists to do, and put things on a calendar, whether it's digital or in print, and I'm handwriting, what I'm going to do. It is just the act of doing it. And when you think about anything in life that you begin, whether it's, you may not remember when you first started driving, but you might remember teaching your kids how to drive. You put them in charge of a 2,000 pound, whatever piece of equipment, however much a car weighs, and they begin, and they step on the brakes too hard, and they, veer to the right too much, and they're just trying to keep it steady in between the lines, staying in their lane. They had to begin somewhere, and you took such a risk by putting them in charge. And we took even a greater risk when we put them through driving school, because now we have them sitting next to someone we don't know. We have them sitting in a car with someone who may or may not care. They're just there to make some money. And then there are those that really do teach driving well. But it's a beginning. And so I would recommend just starting somewhere. Begin with, again, if it's painting, if it's gardening, get an ice cube tray and fill all the little pockets up with dirt and put some seeds in there, and read the instructions, and start something from a seed, or go outside and, dig a hole in the garden and put a plant in there and see what happens, and nurture and take care of that. But, oftentimes we need tools to be able to do what our gifts might be, and those have all been given to us. It's not expensive, but I'll guarantee you, as a gardener, if you begin with those seeds and you put them in that little ice cube tray, and then put that in a sunny window, and those things start growing, you will get a sense of beginning. you will get a sense of doing what you're possibly or potentially supposed to be here. When God gives us gifts, and children included, and family and friends, he doesn't necessarily say, this is how you do this. He just said, I've gifted you with this. And I started thinking about this the other day, and I wanted to ask you guys, have you ever given a gift? Let's say it was a really expensive sweater or a beautiful ring or a watch to someone, and they never wear it. You never see it with them on, and it gives this feeling of, you're like, well, what did they do with it? Did they just put it away? Do they like it? Am I just happening to not see them wearing it today? Or did they just say thank you and put it away? I want you to think hard about that feeling. Or the feeling when you think you've got, you purchased the most beautiful gift, or you made them the best cake you could, or whatever it is, and they take a bite of that cake and they're not elated about it. They're not excited. You worked so hard. Maybe it was the first cake that you ever baked and it's chocolate and you didn't know how well you would do at it. And they taste it and you know that chocolate's their favorite flavor and they just don't look like they love it. I am a person that loves to hear feedback. I love to hear, that it is delicious. I don't like to see just complacency. It's rough, probably, being my friend or relative, or when you give, you're not just giving for them, you're also giving for you. It felt good buying it, it felt good baking it, it felt good making it, and now when you potentially give that to someone, it's a give and take situation there of how good that makes you feel. You can't help it. Even though you may have spent your last dollar to purchase something for someone because you knew they would love it, you are expecting, and there is a feeling that you get. You cannot help it. You cannot deny it. That feeling that you would love to have when someone really likes what you've done for them. And so I relate that to God. And God has, together with your parents, has given, has gifted them with you. And when he made you, he gave you gifts. Everybody has one. Everybody has some sort of seed of a talent that was planted inside you as a human being. Everybody. And imagine if you were sitting across the table from God and he said, let's just use me. Hey, Bev, how is that writing thing going? Or, hey, Bev, I gave you the gift of gab. How's that going? And I look across the table because I'm not going to lie to God. And I'm going to say, well, I have written and I've got all these books and unpublished pieces that are sitting in bins in my closet. And what about that speaking thing you do? Well, I have all the equipment. I have, everything I need to record, but I haven't done it for a while. Now, he was so excited to give me those gifts. And believe me, I love to cook. Pretty good cook. I love to have things organized. Things are certainly a mess. I feel like I'm shortcut, kind of not really being that appreciative to God for the gifts that he gave me